Hello world, you're watching 80s Music Twin Ranked. I'm Joel.
I'm Chris.
And you notice we're going through the Beatles. We did Paul McCartney, followed by the band he was in, the Beatles. And then we're going down the line of the popular Beatles, starting with John Lennon, obviously. He would have been second in line to Paul McCartney, I think. Interestingly, we did not mention something about John Lennon in the Beatles video. And that was his controversial remark.
Yeah, about the Beatles are more famous than Jesus. Now, it's controversial because everybody's like, oh, he's talking about Jesus. Like, you can't talk about anything controversial about Jesus at all.
And for all we know, at that time, maybe they
might have been. He just said they were more famous.
Yeah, more popular. I think
more
he
popular.
Said popular.
He didn't say we're better.
Right, we're more famous. And that could have been true. I would say right now, there's a good bit of Christians in the world, but by and large, he probably would be famous right now because of that statement.
Now, right now, Jesus is more popular than the Beatles. Yeah, say the Beatles. Like, I saw a clip the other day where the mom, they were at a restaurant and there's a picture of the Beatles. And she asked
yes,
the kid,
thought it was Harry Potter.
Who's that? Is it Harry Potter? I have no idea who the Beatles are.
Yeah, but just asking the kid. But the question is, how many of like mid-range people, teenagers or 20s?
Yeah.
Because Beatles they've been disbanded for over 40 years, obviously. But that was controversial.
They do have their own radio station on Sirius Radio. So
so I asked you this last week. Who was your favorite Beatle?
I said
Ringo Starr. Question is,
who's your second?
Who's your least favorite Beatle?
Least favorite? after the study for this week, probably John Lennon.
Yeah.
He's too political. He might be the most political out of all.
I think when growing up, I didn't like him, and it's based on his comments. I never liked the song "Imagine," and different reasons back then. But
now we really don't like it just because of the video of the celebrities doing it.
Yeah, the celebrities that wanted to take that and kumbaya. was it talking about COVID at the time?
Something like that. Yeah, it was during lockdown. Yep.
Yes, so you got people like that, and probably don't even realize what Imagine was all about. Right. But yeah, even the line
you remember that you watched Forrest Gump, right? I mentioned it with Elvis Presley. Yes. So they had John Lennon's character ask him. Forrest Gump was sitting right next to John. And he's like, I don't know if you can imagine. And John Lennon's like, oh, I think you can, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
He probably wrote the song after reading Forrest Gump,
I do remember, I think, the first time I heard the song Imagine, or at least is what I remember, is in line at a Cedar Point. And they kept looping that song over and over.
And you got sick of it immediately.
Line for a roller coaster. You guys like, who played it?
But that is his biggest hit solo career, I think.
It wasn't a number one, though.
No, it's his most famous, most popular.
his two number ones, the one with Elton John, which I don't think we mentioned it during Elton John.
No.
Whatever Gets You Through the Night, and then what was the other song that? Just Like Starting Over was the number one.
Yeah, the ones that were big hits were like wasn't it Give Peace a Chance? And the Christmas War Is Over song.
Let me address that. Okay, granted, this comment was made way back in Don Henley, because obviously we were talking about a drummer who was a singer, and somebody made a comment about Ringo Starr saying, hey, he had the first non-Beatle hit.
Okay.
After once they all four had hits out, his was first. Wrong. John Lennon's was. Give Peace a Chance was the first non-Beatle hit out of the four people. Whereas last week, Paul McCartney put out the last
Because Ringo Starr, I don't think he put any hits out until after the Beatles were done.
Yeah.
Whereas John Lennon and Paul McCartney had releases.
Yeah, but
while they still had a Beatles album that got released.
But no, because Paul McCartney's at least charting. Paul
McCartney put his out when the Beatles were still, and it was before everybody knew they were disbanded. John Lennon wanted to do it but didn't, because he didn't think it was right to do it. Then Paul did it, and John was mad about that.
Yeah, he was mad about. He was mad. Everyone blamed Paul McCartney for breaking the Beatles up.
Why did he want that?
And he's like, he gets credit for everything.
I know. Why would he want credit for that? Anyways, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. So before he had a legitimate hit, he had these like weird experimental albums, which I did not put behind me on the board. Those weren't studio albums. They were like experience. And the very first album cover, how could you sell that at the store? Him and Yoko Ono standing there naked.
Yeah.
Where are you selling that at? It's behind the counter at the pharmacy.
That's why I don't like. There's a lot of album covers I don't like in there, because their last two, the Milk and Honey, I believe, and the one previous, which was the Double Fantasy. He's kissing Yoko Ono, which I know they say love is blind, and he has to be, because I've seen attractive Asian woman. I've seen attractive Asian women.
Right.
She's not one of them.
She is still alive, you know.
I know she's alive.
So his technically his first studio album.
I am the beholder.
Technically, first studio album, 1970, John Cougar / Plastic Ono Band.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But if you look at Wikipedia...
Did I say John Cougar? I think you said
John Lennon. Did I? Okay, whatever. So John Lennon, if you look at Wikipedia, it says his name is John Winston Ono Lennon. It's got Ono in his name. Why? Did he take on her name?
Probably. Something like that.
Because he's weird like that. Yeah. So he was a weird one. At least after they split.
They called when he's in the Beatles, they called him the smart one. They called Paul McCartney the cute one. I didn't see what they called the other two.
You probably don't want to know. Okay, so movie-wise, check this out. Nothing. One movie.
How I Won the War.
How I Won the War, directed by Richard Lester, who did the two Beatles movies. Now, he was anti-war. That's what that was.
Just a bit part, only has like 6 minutes of the whole film.
Black comedy, apparently, trying to make... How do you make fun of war? I mean, it's like, I do remember...
Well, it's like a satire then, probably.
I do remember The Naked Gun, they were coming out of the theater and laughing, and they look up, and it was Platoon they were watching.
Oh.
That's not a black comedy.
That is funny.
That was not a black comedy. The one he was in was a black comedy. Now, there are movies that have stuff about John Lennon. I watched Mr. Holland's Opus with Richard Dreyfuss. Okay. He's a composer, and he has a band play Beautiful Boy, which is one of the non-releases off of Double Fantasy.
Yeah.
By the way, that would be the album I'd buy, despite the cover.
Yeah,
it's got the best song.
It's probably got my 3 that are in the top, 5.
Yeah. And probably 4 of the 10 songs in our top 10 came out after he died. Yeah, okay, so let's go there. All right, so let's do a first. Okay, and obviously this is a first. This is the first musician we've done who was murdered.
Yeah.
And I looked at the list. Actually, there's a list on Wikipedia again. It's got a lot of obscure names. There aren't a lot that we would know during our lifetime anyways. The first name I recognized off the entire list, I said them in a chronological order. It listed somebody way back in the 1800s. I'm like, who? Anyways, Sam Cooke would have been the first guy recognizable to me murdered back in when the Beatles were just forming.
Okay.
He was a blues guy. John Lennon would have been the second name, so it took like 16 years for the next famous musician. He was murdered by a guy named Mark David Chapman, who apparently, even on the day of his murder, hey, he's a nice guy, still shot him anyways.
Guys, I'll have a graph a couple hours earlier.
Yeah, and the guy said, do you believe, what you just did? He goes, yeah, I just shot John Lennon. So he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
That guy is still alive.
Yeah.
He's been denied parole 12 times. So, well in his 80s. Okay, so do you think you'd be able to guess any of the other names on the list?
I would assume anybody else they're all rappers.
I'll get there. But
I see a rapper.
Yes.
Some rapper, usually somebody I've never heard of, every week. If I look at the deaths on Wikipedia.
Yeah, maybe, but since before the 2000s, there's only 5 other names that would be recognizable.
Okay,
Okay.
let's hear it.
All right. Here's the very next one after John Lennon would be Marvin Gaye, who we mentioned in
his
Lennon.
dad.
Yeah, he actually got murdered. And then that was followed by Selena a decade later
Yes.
by her housekeeper, was it?
I really like the song. She had a song that she spoke.
She had 2 good songs.
She had one. Yeah, okay. And they were in English because mostly
Yes.
she did.
Correct.
She put. And I can't remember the title of the
Yeah,
one.
I
I
know.
really liked it.
Yeah, and then Tupac would have been the next one,
Okay.
followed by the Notorious
Notorious
B.I.G.
B.I.G. And of course that was.
Oh, what's interesting is I think there's
sort
been
of a gang war.
there's been movies about most of them.
Yeah.
There has not been a movie about John Lennon's death yet, which is weird.
Now, if you watch Yesterday, which we mentioned in the last video,
Okay.
where nobody knows who the Beatles are except this one guy, and he played.
Right.
He goes to John Lennon because since this is an alternate universe where the Beatles were
Right.
famous,
And
John
he
Lennon didn't
die.
get killed.
Yes.
So, and there's a guy looks pretty.
So
Looks like
that
it.
would be why he became famous, because it was an alternate universe. If it was real today, he would not have been famous because people would not appreciate the Beatles music. Okay. Anyways, you mentioned the rappers. So since 1995, there have been 15 rappers killed. Okay.
More than that, those are just the
That's
famous
it.
ones.
Yeah, the famous ones. Okay. But since 2018, in a 5-year span, 11 famous rappers have died. Well, no. 11 murders have taken place. 8 have been rappers. So out of the 11, that's what?
Yeah.
More than 2/3 of them. Okay.
Now we know some famous. There's been famous actors who died.
Yeah.
Got killed by Phil Hartman would be a famous one. His wife killed him.
Correct.
There was I don't know if you remember Pam Dauber from Mork and Mindy.
Rebecca Schaefer was in My Sister Sam.
Yeah, my sister.
Yeah,
she
so-
got killed by a fan.
We don't want to get gruesome on you, but
Oh, yeah.
there's not a lot about John Lennon we want to talk
Yeah.
about. So.
But before that, all we've talked about, we had a couple suicides.
Right. Now, so I wouldn't say he has a ton of hits that I like. One album of his, Rock and Roll, was cover songs. He did, Beatles did cover songs. John Lennon did covers. He did Stand By Me. Was in the top 10. So, why don't we get to the top 10?
Might as well.
Top 10! Nah, just this is out there. I was at work, I was listening to Diamond Days, an album by The Outfield. They have this song specifically called John Lennon.
Okay.
I didn't know that till today. Or this week, I mean. Okay, so we both have one honorable mention each. Believe it or not, my number 10 song, which didn't make it, is the Happy Christmas, War is Over.
Yeah, I find it grating. It's like the
Yeah.
Wonderful Christmas Time. I will put Wonderful Christmas Time above that.
But again, we're listening with he doesn't have a ton of hits that I like, so I like that even better.
I might even put Elvis Presley's Blue Christmas above that one.
which I rank as his worst.
It's
Okay.
It's Yoko Ono singing at the end. I don't like it.
All right, so your honorable mention is Borrowed Time, and I can't remember what that even sounds like. So
It wasn't a hit, yeah. No.
those were our 2 honorable mentions. Okay, so some of these songs I won't be able to tell you what album they come from because they say non-album single. He had a lot of those, so that would the first one, however, did come from an album called Walls and Bridges, and that would be number 9, Dream. I have it at 14. You have it at 9.
I wonder if this is a reference to
Cloud 9.
no the White Album. When they say number 9, number
Oh
9.
yeah, it could be.
I don't know.
What about the other 8 dreams?
And that's what I'm saying. What was he counting them?
I know. You remember your dream? You write it down.
I remember the 9th one.
Okay. Next one up. Non-album song. Power to the People. And I always want to do this.
Yeah, I did too.
I have this at 6. You have it at 15. Again,
Where'd that come from? Was that from Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing? I don't know if that was.
maybe.
what it
It's been
was.
a long time since I saw that movie. But
It might have been a sign that
I think this came
the Black
because
Panthers might have done that sign.
because
possibly.
he was an anti-war guy. Because of that, Richard Nixon went against him.
Yeah, he's trying to get him deported.
Trying to get him deported, and I think that's what when that. song
And
came
what
out.
stopped it really was Watergate.
Yes.
Because Gerald Ford then took over, and he didn't have any. He didn't care if John Lennon stayed or not.
All right, next one up, also coming from Walls and Bridges, so maybe that would be the next best album, I don't know. Whatever Gets You Through the Night, both of us have it at 8. And what gets you through the night? Sleep.
NyQuil, maybe Xanax.
Yeah, don't stay up during the night, do you? All right, number 7 from Milk and Honey, and I had forgotten totally about this one. This one's not even listed on his greatest hits, which I have in my car. I'm Stepping Out. I have it at 9, you have it at 7. And it's not Stepping Out by Joe, Joe Jackson?
Yeah. Do 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 do.
This is I'm stepping out. And normally when you say that, doesn't that mean you're cheating? You're stepping out on your wife?
Maybe. It might be a phrase.
I don't know if that's... He did have a gap where he left.
I thought when you're stepping out, I'm going outside. That's or going on the town maybe. I don't know,
that's
something
true.
like that.
Yeah, but going back to what I just said, he split from Yoko Ono for a 5-year span.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I guess that's when.
No. For 18 months.
18 months.
5-year span was he was not doing music for 5.
You're right, because he wanted
5 years
to raise Sean,
Right.
who was their kid, him and Yoko Ono,
Yeah.
right? They had Sean.
You also had Julian with him and his first wife Cynthia.
Stepbrother.
Apparently he liked Sean better, I guess.
Really interesting. And Sean, he's been in bands, but we know nothing about his music. But Julian Lennon did have a couple hits.
Yeah, the one video we know where
he's chasing the train.
It's the one video with Michael J. Fox is in it.
He's in it, really?
Yeah, his first song.
Okay. Oh, I remember that one where he's like behind a train caboose and trying to catch up to it. Okay, next one. Number 6, which this was supposedly his biggest commercial album, but then I read that another album beat it. This was Imagine. Imagine, though, is the only song that looks like was released from that album. So Imagine is our number 6. You have it at 6, I have it at 7. And again, lots of... I never liked the line, Imagine There's No Religion.
Right.
And then we realize what religion is. You're like, yeah, I can imagine that. But he wants to also imagine other things. Imagine there's no heaven, no hell below us.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he's an atheist.
No country.
Yeah. Imagine you're just in the Matrix and it's nothing but white surrounding you. That's basically what it is. That's no imagination at all. Imagination.
Clear your mind.
Okay, next one up, number 5, coming from Milk and Honey. So imagine there was no God, and then he has to bring a biblical reference to the very next album, although he was dead.
Or he was a farmer, and beekeeper. He had a cow and some bees. He had milk and honey. I don't know.
Now this album came out in 1984, so it's the first posthumous, his only posthumous actually, album released.
It was not doing well. It got released and it wasn't doing well.
No, that was the other one.
No, Double Fantasy was it. And
this ain't Double
Fantasy. Oh no, I'm sorry, this is Milk and Honey.
Milk and Honey.
Double Fantasy.
Yes.
Wasn't doing well.
I know.
And then he got killed.
Right.
And all his songs went like...
That normally happens with artists' pictures. Somebody does a painting, you can't see, he's got like no money in his pocket because it won't sell.
That probably happens to a lot of artists. Like Michael Jackson, when he died, I think all his albums went through the roof too.
Prince died, he probably had some albums sell.
George Michael, they probably all did that.
The rapper right now, Juice WRLD, he keeps selling stuff even though he died a few years ago. Anyways, Nobody Told Me is number 5. This is probably the song that we know most because
MTV
played it all the time.
A lot of his home videos were...
Probably didn't even realize he was dead at the time when they kept showing the video. I thought he was still releasing stuff. But anyways, I have this one at number 2.
We were young, that's why.
You have it at 5. Yeah. So if it was out in 1984, we were 14.
Yeah, we wouldn't have known any better.
Or we were stupid.
I'm sure, well, at 10 years old, I'm sure our parents would say, John Lennon died. We probably were like, who? That's probably what we would have said.
Who cares? Then they start answering, and you say cares.
Okay.
That says,
That's something your son does. I
Yeah,
know,
so you do that to me. Say John
John Lennon.
died.
John Lennon died.
Who
John.
cares?
Yeah, I got you.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, next one up, number 4. Number 4, 3, and 2 all come from Double Fantasy.
Yes.
So that would be why that'd be the album again. All right. So his one of his number 1 hits, Just Like Starting Over. Both of them have it at number 3. Why is Just Like in parentheses
I don't know.
and Starting Over? I'd have to ask our pastor. Is that grammatically correct? to
Well,
even
why
do
not
something
just
like that?
make it just like starting over? No parentheses
I
at
know.
all.
I don't understand that. It's like why not a comma? Doesn't that do the same thing?
Maybe it might be because in the song he says just like starting over. Starting over. He doesn't repeat the just like.
Okay.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll go with that. All right. Next one up. Number 3 would be Woman. You have this at 2, and I have it at 4. But my question to you all is,
What is a woman?
John Lennon banned, canceled, or whatever. Now he does in this song what Paul McCartney did in Silly Love Songs. At the end, he just kept repeating "I love you." He didn't do it like Paul McCartney. He's like "I love you."
Right.
Yeah, he does it slower. Okay. All right. Next one up. We're going pretty fast, I know. Number 2, you have, this is your favorite song, and I have it at 5. Sounds similar to Woman, piano-wise. It's Watching the Wheels.
How is that not number 1? Come on, what's wrong with you?
Well, it's
Every time I hear it, and I'm like, that sounds like a piano playing at the mall.
yeah.
Because it's got the echo, so that's why I think it sounds like that.
Now where
I relate to the song because he's like, people say I'm lazy. I'm like,
right?
yep.
What wheels are you watching?
I don't know. I always think of like when you go up into a clock tower and all those grinds are moving.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You can go to the Akron Children's Hospital near us.
Okay.
Right? And they've got this big contraption. It's got all the gear shifts and stuff, and you watch this ball go around the things.
Okay.
Kind of neat. Not really wheels, but
Where's that at?
the Akron Children's Hospital.
Okay.
All right, and that leads us to number 1. I don't know. Do you know the song? It's the only one we haven't mentioned. Close to the beginning. My number 1. Your number 4.
Nobody told me.
No, we didn't.
I couldn't remember.
This one's got the.
Can't remember what we didn't do.
This one's got the weird drums suddenly, and that would be Instant Karma.
Oh yeah,
Where he's like, it almost doesn't go with the song. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But when I think of Instant Karma, there's a whole boatload of YouTube videos.
Yeah. Like people that like go through red lights, right? And immediately there's a cop there pull over.
That's karma. Or something else, like
Yeah.
they berate somebody, as soon as they turn around, they trip or something.
Yeah.
So, that's what I think of. But anyways, instant karma as opposed to the long drawn out karma, which I guess that happens too, right? And that is a non-album single, so we can't even say get that album because it's not on one, unless you talk about the greatest hits. So that would be our Fast John Lennon video. Do you agree with the top 10?
Maybe we'll get more views since
Yeah.
it won't be as long.
Some people don't know who Paul McCartney is. Do you even know who John Lennon is? So, yeah, where was I?
Next week,
Next week we're doing,
George Harrison.
yes, the other dead Beatle.
Yep, we're bookending them. The 2 live Beatles at the end. 3
Right.
good Beatles.
So that means we're leaving our favorite Beatle for last. but not for that reason. It's because his hits are unrecognizable, basically. I would say he probably has the least famous hits, right? We just named a boatload of Paul McCartney songs that are recognizable, and they still play today, right? John Lennon, you would say Imagine's right up there. Played, even the celebrities know it, they're singing it. George Harrison, right? He had, out of all them, and I should say this next week, but he had the last big hit out of all four guys, right? And that would be, by himself, Got My Mind Set on You, followed by the Traveling Wilburys, which we've done twice already, right?
Right.
Have we done
that? Oh, yeah,
twice?
we'll have him, Traveling Wilburys will be on his list.
Yes. And then Ringo Starr, well, what's his biggest hit? Nobody knows. I'm saying you can recognize the other three guys, but you get to Ringo's.
I would say She's 16. That would probably be her.
That's what I'm saying. Do people even know what that is?
Yeah.
Right?
We'll talk about that.
But the other three guys, everyone knows, but not Ringo. So he's got to be last. And then we'll get back into actually doing 80s music. Unless somebody dies. If Ringo dies this week...
Well, okay, technically we were in the 80s with John Lennon.
That's true.
He died in 1980, but his big hits...
You are correct.
So they were in the 80s.
Yeah, and Ringo's hits did span in the 80s too, right? Okay, we think. We'll look into that. We'll see you next week. Bye.